Kamen Rider Zeztz episode 18 isn't the best episode of the series so far, but it is the episode that proves that Yu Takahashi is one of the best Kamen Rider writers that they've ever had. He keeps coming back. That's one proof that he's excellent. Another proof is that this show is doing everything that it's doing. It's simultaneously creating in episode 17 and 18 a jumping on point for new viewers, a great catch-up point, you could say. Everything that happens before still matters, the context still matters, and it makes the experience richer for viewers like me who have been following along for the whole show. However, it still is a great place to start because you know what Baku's about, you know what Zeztz does, you know who his rival is, and some of the conflict that they have, and then you very quickly learn about the impurity of Code and how Code is an organization who's compromised. You know about this change up in the leadership, and I mean going from 0 to 3 sounds weird, but also accurate. And you get to see all this stuff happen in such a short time frame, and it's really impressive to see the richness and the depth of the storytelling that's being done here, because you can just have started watching this and you get what's going on. You get the conflict, at least enough of a handle on it to be satisfied and to be intrigued and be drawn in. And then for people like me who've been watching all along, even better, you get this really rich experience where things are changing. You have this Kureha coming in who is, it turns out, a veteran tokusatsu actress. She played the Papillion from King Oger. That's what it is. She was the butterfly lady from King Oger, which I didn't really recognize her, but then I just remembered right now that her face is almost always covered, like with the hair, half of her face is covered. So how would you have known what she looks like? But anyway, you have this new lady coming in, and she comes with a very strong presence. She has a very dynamic vibe to her. Nausicaa is interesting because I like her as a character, but the actress's portrayal of her, and I think just the portrayal of the character, she's like very subdued, very flat, very monotone almost. She has these little moments where she gets upset and she kind of panics and, reacts violently to things, including kicking Fujimi and doing other acts of violence like that, little, jokey shtick kind of acts of violence. But she also I didn't want to do this. She does that kind of thing. And Kureha doesn't do that, but she has all this intensity. And I think the actress brings a really great presence to it. And I think in King Oger, she was super subdued. This lady is not subdued at all. Kureha is a very switched on person as far as emoting and being angry, and what she's feeling, which is really cool to see. And from her introduction, the little line that Baku gave, which is the writing of Takahashi, I'll have to verify that this episode was in fact written by Takahashi and not by somebody else. That little line that I alluded to was Baku saying Kureha's name, even though he shouldn't have known it. And he even says something like, Kureha, and I shouldn't know this, but he knows it. And that's a little important clue for what happens later on and what happened in the past, I believe. Also, this episode was written by Yu Takahashi. As far as I can tell, all 18 episodes have been so far. While Kureha's presence is remarkable, I also enjoy the fact that her name, which sounds like Kuro, which means black in Japanese, means dusk, or something like dusk. It's actually a homophone, has the same sound of the word dusk, but it's spelled differently, which is pretty clever. Nox is night, she's dusk, which I find to be pretty. Yeah, I said Nox is night, not as in K-N-I-G-H-T, but like the nighttime night, like Nyx, the goddess of night from Greek mythology, I guess, or whatever. Anyway, so I find that to be interesting. I find that a very clever move. Once again, that's props to you, Takahashi, for being clever and doing fun stuff with the writing. And it's little things like that. It's that kind of attention to detail, and it's that, I don't know, way of making things just a little bit extra special that I really appreciate from him. And I think from Kamen Rider in general, I feel like it's pretty consistently on point in that way. I say Tsuburaya with Ultraman is classier than Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. And I think genuinely that's true. And I think they put together like a premium product for the most part. And I have a lot of affection for Ultraman. It's also easier to watch an entire Ultraman series because they're half the length of a Super Sentai or Kamen Rider. But Kamen Rider also does a lot of really good, like, deep thematic stuff, at least on the surface. There's a lot of thematic stuff that you can bite into and enjoy. And stuff like that, like the Nox, the Kureha, Baku even being Baku Yorozu, like his name meaning like literally this dream-eating monster thing, and like this thousandfold is what Yorozu means. It's like a very interesting scenario going on, but also that's possibly all the touch of Yu Takahashi, which I think he's the one who makes things a little bit extra special, and I'm just a fan of his shows so far. I think I haven't seen everything that he's written though, so 01 and X8 for sure, and now this. I think I'm missing. Didn't he do? Or was the Ghost guy? Yeah, I don't know who did. I don't know what his other show was, but there's one other that I haven't seen yet, so I should probably correct that problem. Oh, Geats. I think he did Geats, and I didn't see all of Geats, only the first quarter or so. Anyway, but yeah, this was a really great episode. It's a great turning point, and it's a great launching point, and it's a great continuation point because so many great things are happening, and it's really interesting to see the dynamics, how they're changing, and what it's going to mean for Baku, because it's raising new questions. It's raising questions about Code, about the lady and the nightmares and everything that's going on with them, and I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen because it's so fascinating. And I think Kureha is going to make a cool permanent addition to the cast. I would think that's what she's supposed to be. At least she'll be there for a little while and do some interesting stuff, give some interesting backstory to the organizations, because she doesn't remember being an agent before, but she was one, and now is she going to be again, or is she going to be something else? I don't know. And how many other people can that happen to? At least 5 others? 7, 6. Yeah, 5 others at least. I mean, 3, he seems to be, it seems to be clear what his deal is, but maybe it's not so clear. Anyway, tell me what you thought about the episode, and check out the pinned comment for more. This is MJ with Henshin Inspection and Writer Tears signing out.